Many people say that equality of opportunity has already been achieved in the Western society. They explain away unequal outcomes by the assumption that people from different groups make different choices about their lives, based on their own preferences, conditioned by their nature. This group prefers to be criminals instead of looking for a good job. That group prefers to take fewer risks and dedicate more time to the family. In other words, the authors of such rhetoric are denying that society is an influencing factor. They attribute the differences in situations of individuals coming from different social groups to their own personal preferences. There is no systemic racism, no problems coming from the gender binary, it's just their own choices. Are we sure they're not overlooking anything? For starters, let's consider a very simple example. Assume there are two individuals with absolutely identical preferences, tastes, aspirations and desires, with the only difference: one of them meets the cultural standards of attractiveness, while the other one is considered to be unattractive. It is evident that in many areas they have completely different ranges of possible choices. The latter will have troubles in choosing a sexual and romantic partner. It will be harder for them to find a job because they have no advantage of the initial appeal to a potential employer. A career on the catwalk or on the TV is basically out of the question. As such, regardless of personal preferences, the choices of the second individual are quite limited. Just as evident is the difference between those who are born rich and those who are born poor. In these examples, the difference of the choices available and unavailable to two different people doesn't come from personal traits or the nature of those people. It is caused by what options they are given within society and by what restrictions society imposes on them. Consider a less obvious example. In a heterosexual family, the man wants to take the housekeeping upon himself in order not to distract the wife from her career. He immediately runs into resistance from society. "So that's who's the wife in the family," say the guys in the bar mockingly. "That's not a real man. She better get rid of him," say the old ladies on the bench in front of the building. When answering a question about his occupation, he constantly meets uncomprehending or even disparaging looks. There are no other men around who have made the same choice and with whom he could share his experiences and feelings. No one next door, no one among the relatives, and no one among school friends. Maybe someone in a dedicated forum. Yes, if he really wants, if he performs well enough under pressure, if his skin is thick enough, he will make this choice and perhaps he'll even be happy with it. A less thick-skinned man in his place will also make this choice, but will soon give up and go back to a more stereotypical male role. The rest won't even try. Yes, all these are personal choices, but they don't come exclusively from personal preferences. They're also conditioned by the environment, by the social context. To make it clear, let's look at a highly exaggerated example. Someone puts a gun to your head and says, "Give me your wallet." Yes, one could still argue that giving them your wallet is your own free choice, but in reality, the context of the situation has shrunk your choices down to only two options: to give them your wallet or to risk your life. A person who is not threatened with a gun has a much broader spectrum of choices. If, for research purposes, we were to take a group of people, break it in half, threaten one half with a pistol, and just politely ask the other half, the majority in the first subgroup would prefer to give us their wallets, while the majority in the second one would flip us the bird. In the real world, depending on the social group you belong to, similar things have completely different combinations of advantages and disadvantages, cause very different proportions of approval and disapproval, of support and discouragement. Due to historical, economic, religious and other reasons, there are far too many areas where there is a gun put to the heads of individuals from one group, while individuals from another group prosper. The gaming community reacts to a female gamer in an observably different way than it does to a male gamer. A Western employer favors a resume with a standard Western name, while rejecting an identical resume signed with an ethnic name. A child of Black Americans from a deprived area has to attend a poor public school in the neighborhood and to start working in their teens, while a child of a wealthy immigrant family from Japan has access to the best schools in the country. Speaking of childhood, a lot of the first choices are rightfully made for us by our parents and by other elements of the environment in which we are growing. This forms the sets of skills that are available and unavailable to us and affects our preferences. Too often, while making a choice for us, the parents are not guided by information obtained through watching us closely, or by desire to expand our options. They are guided by the current social stereotypes. I can't tell you how many times, in regard to my child, I've heard, "She's a girl, she doesn't need this. She's a girl, she must do that. Look at her height, she should dance or be in sports. Should she be a boy, it would have been the same, but with different this and that. And for her height to draw someone's attention, she'd have to be 2 or 4 inches higher." And so the vicious cycle continues from generation to generation. If we keep ignoring the destructive and limiting trends in society, if we are not changing our attitudes towards social processes, if we are not abandoning prejudices and stereotypes, if we keep turning a blind eye to the systemic problems of individuals belonging to certain demographics, we continue to be a cause for inequality and injustice. No, it's not about some sort of thought policing. It's about empathy, educating people, having a dialogue, and trying to objectively assess facts. Obviously, we can't positively claim that desires and aspirations are uniformly distributed across individuals from all the demographics. Therefore, equality of outcome is a goal worthy of criticism. However, aiming to reduce societal resistance, that is, striving for equality of opportunity, is a goal that is more than a reasonable one, and a rather distant one, contrary to the opinion of some ideologues. Even if we are to pretend that legal equality or equality before the law has already been completely achieved, it's not the same thing as equality of opportunity, as long as there are cultural constraints. Only when we make the choice to not ignore the environmental factors affecting individuals based on the group they are representing, only when we make the choice to neutralize those factors, we will have the grounds to say that the remaining inequality of outcomes is due to natural differences of people that are free to make their own choices. It is important to not only look at the fact that a person has made a choice to give away their wallet. It is necessary to adequately assess the context in which the choice was made, to consider the range of options available to them, the reasons for the lack of other options, and the possible personal consequences of their choice. And then to work towards a world where each person has the widest range of options and opportunities possible, so that no one has a gun of societal resistance put to their head, so that everyone could truly make a choice according to their own nature.